JBN, we keep you informed. I am Michelle Jones, and in the news, 5 arrested. Motor vehicles seized in pre-dawn lottery scamming operation. 5 people, including 2 women, were arrested and 3 motor vehicles seized in Village Green, St. Anne following a pre-dawn operation in connection with lottery scamming. Reports from the Counter-Terrorism and Organized Crime Investigation Branch CTOC are that between the hours of 5 a.m. and 10:30 a.m., members of CTOC on the Lottery Scamming Task Force conducted an operation at a house in the community with the execution of a search warrant. The police said several lottery scamming paraphernalia were seized along with the motor vehicles, which are suspected to be the proceeds of crime. The names of those arrested are being withheld pending further investigation. Farmer dead, teen injured in St. Thomas shooting. A farmer was killed and a teenager injured after an alleged gun attack in the community of Top Hill, St. Thomas on Tuesday night. The deceased has been identified as Rupert Francis. He is said to be in his early 50s. Details of the incident are sketchy, but reports are that residents heard a barrage of gunshots coming from a section of the community about 8:30 p.m. When the shooting subsided, Francis and the teen were found suffering from gunshot wounds. Both were assisted to a hospital where Francis was pronounced dead and the teen admitted for treatment. Papine student dies after being shot in Ligonier. A Papine High School student has succumbed to gunshot injuries he received this morning in Ligonier Avenue, St. Andrew. The police said they are probing a case of robbery and murder. The grade 10 student, Kenneth Williams, was pounced on by unknown assailants traveling in a motor car. Senior Superintendent of Police Marlon Nesbeth could not immediately provide details. However, he said the student was walking along the road when he was fired on. Him not deserve it. Friends and family of a 21-year-old man who escaped death during an attack that left 2 others dead Monday night are adamant that he did not deserve to be shot. His mother is particularly distraught, yet thankful that her attendance at the grave digging had kept her from being in her shop in Highgate District, Darlaston, Westmoreland, when the building was sprayed with 13 bullets. If she had been there, she said, she would have been too terrified to run and likely killed. Me couldn't run. God is good, and him not good some of the time, him good all the time, she said passionately. Her son was shot in the foot. He has not been identified by the police. Me traumatized, weak, me knees can't turn up. I don't know the words we use. Me can't explain with words. All me can say is God is good, emphasized his mother, whose name is being withheld, an older dreadlocked man, who said he has lived in the area for the past 3 years, and that the injured man was his friend, delivered a tearful testament about the 21-year-old's character. The youth so good to people, him not deserve this. God kill me. Me can't talk to nobody about this. Him not forget no shot round yourself because him good to everybody and him not have no bad mind, said the elderly man. The 2 men who were not lucky enough to escape death during the shooting have been identified as 22-year-old Nicholas Warlock and 35-year-old Sonny Leslie. A report from the police said about 10:20 p.m. the men were watching television at the shop owned by the 21-year-old's mother when a car drove up and 2 men with guns got out. The car reportedly drove up the road to an intersection, then returned to the shop. The 2 armed men went into the shop and opened fire, then escaped in the car in which they had arrived. Warlock and Leslie were cut down, while the 21-year-old, who had noticed the armed men getting out of the car, shouted and ran through the shop's back door. He was shot while trying to escape. Police who responded to the call found one of the men suffering from gunshot wounds inside the shop, while the other was found at the entrance to the building. Lawmen recovered 13 spent casings and 1 live round at the scene. William Knibb student charged in stabbing death of schoolmate. Detectives assigned to the Falmouth Criminal Investigations Branch Ave on Tuesday charged a 16-year-old in connection with Monday's fatal stabbing of Kamal Hall, also 16, of the William Knibb High School in Trelawney. Hall, who was of a D-side Trelawney address, was the goalkeeper of the school's football team that competed in the recent DaCosta Cup competition. He was fatally stabbed following an altercation with the accused over a ring. The accused was charged after being questioned by detectives in the presence of his attorneys at law. He is scheduled to appear in the Trelawney Children's Court on Friday. Gun and ammunition seized in Hanover. A team of officers assigned to the Hanover Police Division seized 1 Beretta pistol with 2 magazines and 3.40 rounds of ammunition during an operation in Green Island, Hanover on Tuesday, March 22. Reports from the Lucy Police are that about 9 p.m. lawmen were in the area when a church compound was searched and the weapon and ammunition were found in bushes. No one was arrested in relation to this seizure. Police searching for a gunman who shot at workmen on Mandela Road project. The St. Catherine South Police are searching for a gunman who fired several shots at workmen on a National Works Agency NAA site along the Mandela Highway in Central Village in the parish last evening. The shooting disrupted the NAA's road rehabilitation project along the thoroughfare. Senior Superintendent Christopher Phillips said the police are still gathering information on the matter. Around 7 p.m., workmen scampered as the gunshots rang out. The police responded, but the gunmen had already escaped. NAA Corporate Communications Manager Stephen Shaw said the incident will mean further expense. "We will have to use heavy-duty equipment to remove the material, as it cannot be used again," Shaw said in an interview this morning. One Dungang trial case adjourned until May 2. The One Dungang trial has been adjourned until May 2 for the prosecution to go through information received from the island's two main telecommunication providers. The lengthy delays to allow the prosecution to examine the very large document and to determine the witnesses to be called. The trial was adjourned by Chief Justice Brian Sykes after the prosecution indicated that it had encountered challenges in disclosing the report from the Communication Forensic Cybercrimes Department to the defense. Noting that the report contains 57,000 files, the prosecution indicated that it needed more time to examine the data and to determine witnesses. The prosecution had initially asked for an adjournment last Wednesday after informing the court that it had received the CFCD report, which covers the information that was received from the service providers. At that time, the prosecution had asked for time to go through the evidence and to determine the witnesses to be called. The prosecution had also indicated that it would disclose the document electronically to the defense that day, but today the judge was told that, based on the magnitude of the information, a new medium had to be used to upload the document, and that disclosure was completed on Sunday owing to the volume of the information. The court was also told that the transcription of the remaining secret recordings was also not completed. A former member of the alleged gang, who is one of the prosecution's main witnesses, had testified that he had used 3 cell phones to record conversations that he had with alleged members of the gang. Before the adjournment, the court had heard several of the recordings with conversations which included reputed leader Andre Blackman Bryan, the gang's alleged deputy leader Jason Brown, otherwise called Citypus, and the lone female defendant Stephanie Muma Christie. Jamaica reports 12 new COVID cases, 3 deaths. Jamaica reported 12 new cases of COVID-19 and 3 fatalities on Tuesday, according to the latest statistics from the Ministry of Health and Wellness. This pushed the total number of cases of the virus since the start of the pandemic to 128,594 and the death toll to 2,872. Of the newly reported cases, there were 5 females and 7 males, with ages ranging from 2 years to 82 years. The cases were recorded in St. James 4, Kingston and St. Andrew 2, St. Catherine 2, Westmoreland 2, St. Anne 1, and St. Mary 1. Meanwhile, the latest deaths are 2 women ages 68 and 79 and an 85-year-old male from Kingston and St. Andrew. The deaths were recorded in September 2021 as under investigation. The country also recorded 86 new recoveries, bringing the total number of recoveries to 80,489. The positivity rate for the latest round of testing was 4.7%. There are 36 people hospitalized, one of them critically ill. There are 236 confirmed active cases on the island. JBN, we keep you informed. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, leave us a comment, and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.